Hello, you multi-munching muckers. And thank you to Daniel for that malt mention. I'm Ralphie in the Bothy, somewhere in the Irish Sea, and just getting ready to share a malt moment with you here in Ralphie Review 930. So pull up a chair, malt mates, pour yourselves a dram, make yourselves comfortable, and I shall begin a short series now. So this will be 930, 931, 932 and 933. I shall be reviewing 18-year-old whiskies. The reason's simple. Prices are going up, partly due to serious inflation and energy costs, partly due to increased global demand, and partly due to the fact that experienced malt mates like ourselves are actually prepared to pay more to sustain our little quality malt moment habit. Ultimately, it's our own choice whether we buy a bottle or not. Now, as you may well be aware if you're regular Ralphie viewers, I did a series of official bottling reviews where I just picked across the range a general availability of single malts, and I had pretty mixed results. And this will explain, by the way, to you why I review so many independent bottlings and age statement whiskies, higher strength whiskies, more naturally presented whiskies, because the fact is, the more experience we all get, the more fussy we become, the more discerning we need to be in order not to sicken ourselves of paying good money for whiskies which are clearly an inferior experience in terms of expectations. It happens, in my opinion, it's happening more. But importantly, this channel, Ralphie.com, is, although I can be negative at times, and I need to be malt mates, because I don't get given this stuff by the industry to review and say nice things about. I'm buying this with my money. The money I get from the advertising, the Google AdSense, and from my Patreon supporters, my Patreon channel, Ralphie, where you get extras. But I felt the need, after having a run of some seriously disappointing whiskies, whether it was badly made, badly matured or badly presented, they all featured. And so I'm kind of focusing on whiskies that I know to be good and just sharing the malt moment with you. So hopefully you'll get in there quick before the prices go up too fast. My particular whisky today is Altmore. Altmore 18-year-old, bottled at 46%, and it says in the back of the label, because the bottle is where the information really matters, it says natural colour and non-chill filtered. I've already poured a glass about an hour ago and added a drop of water, and I'll be adding some more water soon, so I'm going to pour a fresh glass. So as you can see, the glass nearest to me has just been poured, and the glass nearest the bottle is the one that I poured about an hour ago, added a drop of water to it, and then just walked away and left it. And this is what I recommend you do with older whiskies. We're talking 18 years old. You're highly unlikely to see any older whiskies getting reviewed on my channel anymore, because frankly, in my opinion, for what they actually are, they're simply too expensive. The price you're paying does not justify the quality of what you're getting. It is the case, I mean, I'm a champion of age statements, but there comes a point when you're seeing 21-year-old whiskies selling for £500 and they're chill filtered and they've got caramel added. I'm going to ask you a question. Are they even being serious? Are they are they having a laugh? It's absurd. And people who are paying these prices well, they're welcome to carry on with it. But it won't be me. So, Altmore, an integrity, age stated, less well-known whisky, a bit off the radar. I would put it in the same stable as its kind of bedfellow Craigellachie, which has had a particularly good 13-year-old and 17-year-old version, which are well worth looking out for. And here's the Altmore. You get the 12-year-old version and the 18-year-old version. Sure, you get the older versions, but we're not going to bother about them. And in my opinion, they're very good. And I'll tell you why. Because the distilleries actually have the stock that they can bottle very good whisky. And this is partly due to less demand for their whiskies. And this is partly due to, in fact, it's more or less due to the fact that Craigellachie and now Altmore really have been off the radar for single malt whisky drinkers for quite a long time. They are being rediscovered, represented, reinvented as an official bottling, and I have to say they're being done very successfully. It'll be interesting to see how long they can sustain this quality. So when you pour a glass, smell it. Rich butterscotch. It's unpeated. It's what you call a light Speyside. That's the style of whisky it is. And it's fresh and fruity and a little bit vanilla and sherbety. And when you taste it, oh, boom. Packed full of flavour. It's got that concentrated note to it that you just know that it's not going to just be taking a wee drop of water. You can be fairly generous with the water, but careful, malt mates, because it is 18 years old, and the older a whisky gets, no matter what the strength, it could be 41%, it could be 51%, it could be higher. But with older whiskies, add less water, and add your water incrementally in little bits at a time over a period of time, so as that you gradually reach that bliss point of the right proportion of water that suits your own palate. So I'm going to kind of add a drop of water to this. I'm going to add about 3 millilitres, so 2/3 of a teaspoon. And just give it a little, just a what's called a gentle roly-stroly. That's all it needs. No shakies. And then I'm going to come to this whisky that's had a full teaspoonful of water in it, and I'm going to bring it forward so you can see a certain amount, a small amount actually, of Scotch mist appearing in the glass. If it was February instead of June, because I'm recording this in the month of June, and the ambient temperature's higher, so there's a little bit less mist to see, but when it's cooler, when the ambient temperature's lower, that's when the mist starts to appear. And if you're in doubt, just stick your glass in the fridge wherever you are for about an hour or so, and if your whisky's been unchill filtered, a mist will appear. It is the only dependable sign that we have, and it applies for double distilled whiskies, not treble distilled, because they're more refined, like Auchentoshan, which is chill filtered anyway, unfortunately. But double distilled whiskies, they will go slightly hazy in the glass if they have not been chill filtered. And if they have been chill filtered, you can add a teaspoonful of water, put it in the fridge. If it remains clear, well, it's been chill filtered. That's the most dependable way that you can find out for yourself, rather than listening to all the conflicting, mixed messages you're going to get from experts. Right, on the nose. Softer, fresh fruit, pear, peach, vanilla, apple, grapes, white grapes, German white grapes, Riesling, slightly aromatic and floral fragrant. Floral is stock, scented stock, or sweet pea, slight sweet pea note. When you initially smell it, you don't seem to get much. But when your olfactory senses, that's your sense of smell, once it gets more familiar with what's in the glass, it'll pick up on the detail. This is what's called a subtle delivery dram. You cannot rush this, malt mates. You got to take it slow, so as the further you go. On the taste, delightful, clean, fresh, fruity arrival. Dressed, not infused, but dressed with some good quality oak, both American and European. You get that slight bitter oak note, but if it's pleasant bitter oak, it's probably coming from a European source. If it is just acrid, sour, bitter note, it's probably coming from cheapest of the cheap American ex-bourbon cask wood, and there's plenty of that around. Don't let the experts kid you in that one. It's a really good idea, by the way, to do what I'm doing. Take a bottle like this, pour your dram, add your water, let it sit for an hour, and then pour a fresh one and put them side by side, because it's the best way of actually getting a tangible reading of just how much change takes place when you add a little drop of water over time. Now, if it was 40%, you could say, hey Ralphie, the water's already been added, so I don't have to add it myself. Yeah, you're right. So, how come you go to all this fuss of adding your water and taking your integrity 46% whiskey down to 40%? Well, I'll tell you why. Because see, once you've added water to whiskey and cut it down from cask strength to 40%, the first thing that happens is the alcohol reacts to the presence of this suddenly added extra water and releases a whole load of these beautiful natural sourced chemicals, which used to be flavour before it got bottled. And this is why bottling plants are even more fragrant and whiskey like than many warehouses. Because when the whiskey's getting bottled, that's where you get the most powerful smell. People who have worked, or people who are working in bottling plants, they don't even notice it after about a month. They don't realise the beautiful ambience of different smells of whiskey that's getting bottled. But the reduction of casks whiskey takes place rarely at the distillery unless they've got their own bottling plant, like Bruichladdich, for example. Very good example. But if the whiskey's going from the Highlands down to central Scotland to be bottled in a big unit, that's what usually happens, then the water that's added will come from the local civilian water supply. It will be additional filtered to remove the chlorine, but that's it. So don't be under any illusions. Distilleries do not cut whiskey from cask strength to 40% before transporting it, because it doesn't make economic sense. And it's an awful lot of hassle, because you've got to open up every cask, pour whiskey out, pour water in. They don't do it. Don't kid yourself about that. Not all water in the making of whiskey comes from the beautiful little locket and lochie and little river with cascading streams up behind the distillery. It's all part of marketing. Now you know. It's good that you know, by the way, because you're going to find out anyway. Back to the... I'm going to actually drop extra water to this. La 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 la. I think even more than I have. Yeah, that's more like it. You know I do like to cut my whiskey significant, but I'm not alone, malt mates. Master blenders do this too. The arrival's longer. It's more dramatic. Fresh fruit, sherbet, some beautiful sweet and sour oak, sweet and sour barley sugar. It lingers in the development, becomes a little more rose waterish, slight Turkish delight note through the development towards the finish, which kind of crisps up with some bright, fresh and very engaging tannins right in the finish. Typical of an 18-year-old, it's got that bit more drama going on between the arrival and into the development and onto the finish. It's not so spirit driven. With younger whiskies, the spirits, or the actual spirit from the still, tends to dominate and is calling the shots. And that's fine, as long as you've got proper active casks that can take it on. Then that's great for younger whiskies, but with older whiskies you want less active casks. Because it's not just adding flavour. That's not just the purpose of the casks, to add flavour to whisky, but to actually engage in the oxidisation, the mellowing, the tempering, the rounding and the natural complexity that morphs over time, and it needs time to do so. So anybody that tells you can just pour your whisky through some charcoal chips and sawdust and it'll be ready in 6 months, frankly, they're bullshitting you. So long as you understand, that's fine. It's a style of making whisky. I never buy them. Now that we sit before the malt mark, you hold it in your palate. Aromatic, slightly gingery, soft, hinting sweet confectionery notes of old British sweets called Oddfellows. You can probably find them on eBay. Refreshing, complex, great summer whisky. And I'm going to conclude now with the fresh pour of the, just poured this 15 minutes ago. Is it the same? Not as complex in the arrival, shorter development, quicker in the finish. It's not just water malt, mates, it's time. Time is so important. And furthermore, when you give whisky time, we give ourselves time, don't we? Malt marks. This is a very good whisky. I'm really pleased to see Altmore finally getting its day. I remember it in the old, many years ago, in the independent bottlers. In fact, that's going to be my extras, my 930 extras. I'm going to call it my travels with Altmore. 89 out of 100. It's a malt mark, integrity malt mark, and you malt mates are very welcome. See you soon.